My favorite TV shows, man, is Sports Center, ESPN News, Partner Interruption, Around the Horn, quite frankly, Outside the Lines, Baseball Tonight. You know what I mean? I watch sports, dog. It's basically that's what I'm trying to say. I watch sports, man. That's what I'm into. Sports, sports, sports. Every sport. Hockey, golf, basketball, football, of course. Baseball. You know what I mean? I got a favorite team, a favorite player in every single sport. I'm not gonna answer those questions.
Oh man, it's a beautiful day. You are now tuning in. If you didn't know, you are listening to Q&A on W.C.C.U Radio, Coastal Carolina University's student radio station. I'm your host, the one and only Addison James Taylor. I hope you're enjoying your day thus far, loved ones. Thank you for tuning in from wherever you're tuning in. However, I hope the server is working for everyone, and I hope you're tuning in and can hear me clearly. It's a beautiful day outside, so I hope you're enjoying it. And the best thing for you to do right now is to let everyone who is not tuning in, if they have some free time, if they're not doing anything right now, send them a message, send them a Snapchat, email, MySpace, Facebook, whatever you need to do. Let them know that they need to download the TuneIn app, TuneIn, on their mobile device. Search WCCU Radio and hit the play button. That's all you need to do, folks. This is Q&A, Questions and Addison. This is where we provide you with intelligence, innovative talk on today's sports realm. We're giving it to you from a new generation, the future generation, my generation's point of view on the game today, and it's different, folks, and that's what we're going to do for you here. Give you some different insight and help you look at some of the main topics in today's sports world, in a different fashion. Right now I hate to be a broken record, but there's something I really want to talk about and get off my chest just to start off our day, folks, and that is the upcoming bout on May the 2nd, MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather Jr. I know we've discussed it before. I know we have. But, there's just some things that need to be discussed, folks, and need to be talked about. My best friend, Q Phil, shout out to you, brother. He gave me an idea last night. He talked to me about some things and proposed a very interesting question that I'm going to propose for everyone that's tuning in today. And that question is, folks, what are you watching the fight for? What are you watching it for? There's two reasons why you could be watching this fight. One, you're in it for the bloodbath. It's the same reasons why you watch UFC. It's the same reasons why you watch the NHL. It's the same reasons that you get up out of your seat when, the hitter in baseball charges the mound. When you see some big men going at it down low in the NBA. What are you watching it for, folks? Is it for the bloodshed? Is it for the physical nature? And I know that's a part of it. I know that's a part of boxing. But for this fight, folks, and for this bout, that can't be the case. It shouldn't be the case. It should not be the case. You have to look at this fight objectively. And no one's talking about it objectively. They're just not. No one's talking about it objectively. I listen to, as I do, ritualistically, I listen to ESPN First Take with some guys that I idolize heavily, Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless. And, both of those guys, I'm leaning more towards talking about Skip in this fashion, even though Stephen A. is doing it to a degree as well. But I understand that he's the one that, went on the mainstream tours and interviewed, Floyd Mayweather Jr. for the extensive amount of time that he did. ESPN has been playing it very frequently. If you haven't gotten a chance to check it out, please do, because some of the points that Stephen A. emphasizes on there, and some of the things that Floyd Mayweather Jr. is showcasing and displaying about himself and his own persona, his own personalization, are very interesting. He makes some very interesting points that we'll dive in later, but I want everyone to understand that I am riding with Floyd Mayweather on this fight, but not because of the persona, not because of the ego, not because of the money, not because of hatred over Manny Pacquiao, but because of the skill. And no one's talking about it like that. Everyone wants to see somebody get knocked out. Everybody wants to see bloodshed. And I know a knockout is a part of it. Everybody wants to KO. Everybody wants to TKO. I understand that. I grew up during, I guess, the later Mike Tyson eras. But I've seen the greats. I can YouTube anyone or anything that anyone in an older generation wants to discuss. And to me, it feels like everyone in the older generation, I know I'm highlighting Skip Bayless here. I don't mean to point at you, Skip. But everyone is talking about the persona of Floyd Mayweather. And I know you need to take that into account, but we talked about that on this show, folks. Floyd Mayweather did not create that. He didn't create the illusion of having Floyd Mayweather the boxer and Floyd Mayweather the persona that exemplifies money and the money team and the different variations, and projects that he's had with 50 Cent and powerful people and having, a different car for every day of the week, every hour of the day, different things like that. Those actions were predicated off of what he saw in Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Robinson, even Mike Tyson throughout the 90s. You know, they created this. They created this. Have you ever heard or ever listened to a Muhammad Ali interview? A lot of the times he talks about putting his body on the line and putting his head on the line and putting his record and his reputation, his different things on the line for what, folks? For wealth. For wealth. And I understand that Floyd Mayweather, he puts it out there, he flaunts it, and I fully understand that. But the reason why, me personally, and I feel like some of the people in my generation overall, just summing up everybody, I'm not, making everybody seem cliche like we're all the same, but just the aggregate, just the sum up of the accumulation of, my peers. We expect that. We expect the money and the cars and the women. We expect that. We expect that. So I'm on the aspect of it being right. I'm not exactly saying that Floyd Mayweather is 100% right by showcasing that and displaying that during his, interviews and, his videos and his vlogs and blogs and different things like that. But I'm saying that this is not the first time we've seen this, folks. This is just the first time we've seen this on the magnitude of the money that he's making. But that's because of this new generation, and that's because of technology. Come on, folks. Let's get real for a second. Let's get real for a second. Which one? Are you in it for the bloodshed or are you like me? See, I'm in it for the artistry. I'm in it for the creativity. I'm in it for the technique. That's what I want to see. That's a good fight to me. If somebody gets knocked out, just like I talked about, Ronda Rousey and the UFC, I respect her craft. I respect the time that these athletes go through and put their bodies through on an everyday basis, you know, the longevity throughout the year up until the fight happens the night before, the night of, whatever, what have you. I totally respect it. So that's why I'm not saying that the knockouts and things like that aren't. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm not saying that at all. We discussed on this show Ronda Rousey and how most of her fights usually end in 30 seconds or under. So by continuing to watch those fights, that means that you're in it for the artistry, you're in it for the sport. People that hate to see that are because they don't want to see the knockout so quickly. They don't want to see the bloodshed so quickly. They want it to be, spanned out over time. And I don't quite understand that. The only thing that I can say about Floyd Mayweather Jr. And like I said, folks, this is a generational difference, and that's what we do on Q&A. We provide you with the sports topics of today, but from a different point of view, and this is a point of view that no one is giving you right now. If you look at all the people that are discussing this fight, I know on First Take and I know on ESPN they're having the college athletes. I know they're having the football players that are heading into the draft. They're having them come on and they're having them answer questions. Pick your pick. Who do you picking? Mayweather or Pacquiao, but nobody really is giving any direct insight. Nobody's really saying anything that's intriguing me. I'm just being honest. I mean, they quoted Oscar De La Hoya, and Skip Bayless was ranting about how Oscar De La Hoya hit it on the head because he's picking Manny Pacquiao because he's a southpaw. And, just to kind of break down the quote a little bit, Manny Pacquiao has great footwork. He has great inside and outside ability. I'm reading it that way, folks, because that's how it sounded to me. It sounded stupid. It sounded foolish. My thing is, these are all things that play into boxing. I'm not discrediting anything that Oscar De La Hoya has ever done. He's a world champion. He's a prior and former world champion. But let's get a little bit more discreet. Let's describe it and explain it a little bit more. Let's break down the craft and let's break down, the essential and the subtle nuances of this fight. He can move in and out and his legs and things like that. No, man, this fight is going to be more than that. It's about heart. It's about your reputation, putting that on the line. It's about a magnitude of different things. But for the people that are going against Floyd Mayweather, for the people, a majority, the aggregate that are talking about this fight, they're not being objective, and I'm tired of listening to it. I just really am, folks. So, really the question that I'm arousing to you, the people, for everyone who's listening in the word of mouth, whoever, is talking about it, grapevine, whatever, what have you, what are you watching the fight for? What are you looking to get? You know, and I guess the question I'm proposing is this the most intriguing fight of all time? It's definitely not. But I definitely can tell you that it's one of the most prominent fights that I've seen where people are discussing everything but boxing. Skip Bayless was talking about Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s father and uncle, for Christ's sakes. And he stated something that really struck with me, and it really bothered me. It really bothered me, folks. He said that Manny Pacquiao is not like Floyd Mayweather Jr. He comes from the Philippines. He comes from, parts of it, I guess you can consider third world country, delegation, whatever you want to say. Poorly run, poverty, whatever, what have you. It's going on. I understand it. I respect that. I'm not dissing that at all. I'm not judging or stereotyping at all. I wasn't raised like that. But we need to understand that just because Manny Pacquiao was raised that way, and Floyd Mayweather Jr. came up with his father and his uncle being in the business, Skip Bayless said that automatically put a silver spoon in Floyd's mouth. But guess what? Floyd still had to go out there and he still had to accumulate the wins. He still had to get to 47-0. I'm not saying different variables didn't go into it. I know the referees are swayed. I know Floyd Mayweather has power. I totally understand all that. And I'm really reiterating these points off of my good friend Daniel. Shout out to Daniel, coworker of mine at Carolina Roadhouse, a really good server, very insightful when it comes to sports. I hope you're tuning in, Daniel. I appreciate you. But Daniel brought up something to me about just the all access with Floyd Mayweather and how he was bothered by it, and I totally understand the points that Daniel was making. Floyd didn't show any family. He didn't show him playing with the kids. He didn't show any of that. But that just goes to show the difference in generations. Sorry for that. I just saw my good friend Shelby. It shows the generation gap that we do have, and that people aren't quite understanding it and putting into play and making it actual, action words, making it current, the status quo. The game has changed. Everything has changed, folks. And that's why I chose to give you Q&A, because it's time that we look at these sports differently. And I'm sick of, listening to the same commentary and the same people talk about, things that aren't the same like they were when they were covering them or when they were included in them or whatever. I'm not saying Stephen A. and Skip Bayless don't know the game. I'm not saying they don't know boxing. I'm not saying they don't know sports. They've been around longer than I have. But I didn't control when I was born. So you can't tell me just because I'm 23 years old and I didn't grow up in the Tyson era, or I didn't grow up in the Ali era, that I don't know that, because it's documented. There's interviews, there's videos. Everything you've watched I've studied. So I don't understand how people are getting so riled up about everything besides boxing. You get what I'm saying? We need to stop being so pinpointy and remain objective. If your ideal is to be objective, remain objective. And I know that is hard. The way I was raised, the way everyone was raised, it plays into part of the things that they say. It takes a part into the actions that they rely into the public, to their peers, family, loved ones, whatever. But when it comes to watching sports, folks, you got to lay off. And we have to be realistic. I understand that Floyd didn't show his family. I understand, and Floyd did say something. I'm not saying I agreed with everything he said, folks. Let's not get it misinterpreted. When Floyd said that he's not going to admit that, Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Robinson were better than him, You know, I feel him because, you know, I can say this. I don't feel him on the sense that when he dissed their pedigree, when he talked about, you know, Muhammad Ali and, you know, the rumble in the jungle and, you know, Muhammad Ali using the techniques of really letting his man get tired out, letting his man swing, you know, swing till he got tired, and then Muhammad Ali capitalized on it and finished him off. But guess what, folks? That wasn't Muhammad Ali, you know, learning on the fly. Muhammad Ali knew that, you know, his opponent in that fight was big and strong, physique, finesse, but he also knew that he had to be strategic about it. And that same strategy is I mean, it plays a direct part into what Floyd is doing with his strategies, what boxers from Muhammad Ali on have been doing. So on that note, Floyd did not exonerate that with making the correlation and, you know, giving props to Muhammad Ali. But at the same time, I feel him because I am the same way. I'm not going to admit that anyone is better than me in anything. Anything. I mean, the workplace, I mean, that's just the way that I feel that, you know, people should be. You should always, my mother always told me you should always be confident. And, you know, my best friend says the same things, and he's right. You're not supposed to say that anybody's better than you. When I go into work, I'm just a server, but if my management were to ask me who's a better manager between them and me, I would say me, and I'm not even a manager. Some might think that that sounds stupid, but once you really think and you think in depthly and you think intelligently about it, you realize that it's not as perplexed as it really sounds. So, just to round up, and you know, I could rant, I could talk about this all day. I've just been hearing some things about this fight that just have been, they just, it's foolish. Even going back to what Skip Bayless said, and I talked about this on I guess a few shows ago, but he reiterated and said that Floyd is so high and mighty, and he thinks so high of himself, and he's such the money team that why didn't he fight Manny Pacquiao back in 4 or 5 years ago when he felt that Manny Pacquiao was juicing? Why didn't he just fight him? Why would you fight a cheater? Why would you fight someone who you feel is cheating? That's just foolish. And that's not looking at the fight objectively. That's looking at the fight with hatred towards Floyd Mayweather Jr. And that's why I'm tired of the coverage of this fight. Because nobody's talking about it objectively. No one's talking about the boxing. No one's talking about it the right way. I could be causing, some outrage. I know everyone's not agreeing with what I'm saying, and that's fine. The point of Q&A is that I want you to really take in some of the things that I'm saying and really, really understand the development of new sports. There's a new wave coming. And you see what the athletes of former are creating these future athletes. Floyd Mayweather Jr. created Adrian Broner. Do you get what I'm saying? If you don't know who Adrian Broner is, look him up. He's an up-and-coming boxer, but he wants his lifestyle to really pertain and really attest to Floyd Mayweather Jr. And past athletes created that. Muhammad Ali emphasized and created that. He knew that he had to have Muhammad Ali the boxer and Muhammad Ali the entity that he is, the persona, the trash talk. But then when you got in the ring with him, you were still going to get that trash talk, but you got the boxer. You didn't just get the man, you got the boxer, the athlete. So let's take it easy, folks, and let's get real about it. We need to really, really understand and, look at both sides and both aspects of the spectrum here with all sports. It's a new wave coming. It's a new wave coming for everyone and everything. And we need to be open and weary of it because it's coming. It's here. It's been here. Oh, man. I had to get that off my chest. So, in retrospect, is the fight going to be great? I hope so. Do I think it could be one of the greatest fights of all time? Yes, but I'm not putting that much pressure on the fight because we're dealing with two welterweights. We're not about to see, Muhammad Ali and Buster Douglas and Jermaine Taylor and Bernard Hopkins. And, we're not about to see that type of fight. It's going to be very strategic. It's going to be innovative. There's going to be a lot of strategy. But I just want everyone to look at the fight as it is, and it's a boxing match between two grown men. It's not Freddie Roach and Manny Pacquiao's camp versus Mayweather Jr.'s camp, because I'm sure if we did camp versus camp, I'm pretty sure Mayweather's camp would win because his camp has actually been involved in boxing, actually got in the ring and boxed. I haven't seen Freddie Roach do that. I'm not dissing. I'm just saying. I'm just speaking objectively. But is the fight good? Yeah, it's good for the sport. I mean, the sport needs acknowledgement. It needs the revenue. It needs the merch. This fight, they're not exactly doing the best at the promotion, but guess what? It's still gonna sell. It's still gonna sell. Stephen A. Smith talked about it. He complained about it, but it's still gonna sell. Anyways, moving on to our next topic, folks. We're gonna jump into the National Football League right now. Schedules have come out. The draft is approaching. And the one question that I've been asked a lot, and the one question I'm going to address right now, just to start, is there too much of a gap? Is there too much emphasis on the in between time between, I guess the upcoming weeks and the beginning of the draft talk and the actual draft? And my response and answer to that is yes. Um, if I'm not mistaken, I think the draft takes place on April 30th in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. And there's just, and like I said, folks, I'm agreeing that there's too much time being placed in between and placed up until the draft. There's way too much time. But my generation and technology, that they're the reason why that's going on. So um, you know, me saying that there's too much time, I'm not putting a negative correlation or putting a dark cloud over the National Football League. I mean, there already is one. I don't have to create that. But there is a problem, with the time that's taken in between. But we created that. Our generation, we renounced that. We established that. Um, we're doing these segments. We're the reason why there's segments on ESPN, about Shane Ray, about Jameis Winston, about Marcus Mariota, Gruden's camp, about Leonard Williams, about all these guys, Amari Cooper, Kevin White, Mike Davis, Bryce Petty. I can keep talking about these players. They're phenomenal players, but there's too much time going into play, and there's too many things being discussed despite this, despite football, besides football. The one point that they're talking about now is, Jameis Winston's odds and everyone's odds of being a bust. Everyone's odds of being a bust. There's a Cubase score that really kind of sums up the percentage or respected or estimated percentage of one's ability to be a bust on the National Football League and in the NFL level. Some of the people that I've really seen on there, they have been bust. David Carr, Jamarcus Russell. Um, I even saw Mario, Williams on there to some degree. But on that aspect, folks, and this is where I get to the generational differences. The same people that were talking about the league 10, 15, 20 years ago, they're still talking about it. They're still on TV. They're still discussing it. And I'm tired of that. I want to see them gone and wiped out. Job, that is. I'm not talking about personally or anything like that, harming anyone. I just want to see, I'm just tired of it. They're not saying anything different. Everyone's saying the same things, and they're looking at the games the same way. Jameis Winston has a 61% chance of being a bust in the NFL according to this Cubase score. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's a bunch of malarkey, but the players that are on that bust list, they didn't come out looking too good anyway. They didn't have the credentials that Jameis Winston has anyway. So, you know, the same people that are talking about Jameis Winston are the same people that were talking about Jadeveon Clowney last year, the same people that were talking about Mario a few years ago, the same people that were talking about Jamarcus. I mean, I mean, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. The same way that people were talking about Aaron Hernandez. Let's not get it twisted, folks. You know, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever, what have you. People were talking about his subtle issues and things like that. But what were you all saying back then? And when I say you all, I mean the old heads, I guess, whatever you want to call it, the people that have had the longevity in these media careers in the sporting realm, that are still talking about it, that have been talking about it. They're not going anywhere. You know, y'all, they were the same ones saying, well, he's performing and you know he's performing and he's performing and he's still performing, no matter what he did. We know what he did, but we won't really talk about it because he's still performing. The man, I don't even want to go into that because I'm not going to sit here and incriminate Aaron Hernandez because I didn't go into school. I'm not into political science. I'm a communication and journalism major. So I can only discuss and talk about what I know. And when everything came out, when his personal business came out, they just flipped it. They flipped it. They didn't want to talk about what he had done up to then. They just wanted to talk about how he blew a big contract and they gave him a big contract for nothing and how he just such a big screw up. But you weren't saying that a few years ago, and that's wrong, man. Look at it objectively. Does Jameis Winston have a chance of being a bust? Yeah, but they all do. They all do, folks. It depends on the system. It depends on where they go. It depends on how they're developed. Because let's really. Sometimes I just have to break it down. Let's really get to the bottom of it here. Just because an NFL franchise is an NFL franchise and is up and running today does not mean it is being run properly, does not mean that it is a prominent franchise or organization. Why do you think the Buccaneers and the Bears and Jacksonville and it's players, but guess what? It's personnel too. It's staff too. It starts from the bottom. I mean, excuse me. It starts from the top or bottom, whatever, and work. It has to come in a median. It has to come in the median. You can start with the players, but guess what? Sooner or later, you go up that hierarchy. You got to get to the staff, and if you start with the staff, sooner or later, you got to come down and you got to meet the players. You get what I'm saying? Everyone has an opportunity to be a freaking bust. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear that garbage. I don't want to hear that garbage. Skip Bayless and other people keep saying, well, we're putting his personal, we're putting his, the things that he's done personally behind him. Come on, man. Think about it. I'm a communication major, but just you don't have to be that to understand. Look at it. Look at the trajectory of things. Look at how the draft is about to happen. And now this woman that accused Jameis Winston years ago, now she's coming back out and accusing him and wants to file a civil lawsuit. Come on. 2 weeks before the draft, 3 weeks before the draft. You think that's what do you think? What do you think? You think she just woke up one day and decided to do that? No. She was like, listen, the draft is coming up. I'm about to bust this dude. She was strategic about it. Come on, man. Everyone's done stuff. I keep talking about the crab leg incident. And when I say these things, folks, I'm not standing up for Jameis Winston. He's a grown man. Nobody needs to stand up for anyone. I mean, you should, but I'm not saying, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying don't stand up for people, don't stand up for your rights or whatever you believe in, but it's hard to, I mean, he went through that. So I can't sit here and say, hey, this and that, but I can say that I've been a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, and now a senior in college, a super senior, 5-year program. And, I've done stupid and foolish things, but I've also had people that have done stupid and foolish things because of me or with me or whatever, what have you. And I kept talking about that crab leg incident. I'm not saying Jameis didn't steal. I'm not even going in on that. But let's take into account this, folks, and I don't mean to get off topic, but Jameis Winston is Jameis Winston. He is who he is. He is who he is in Tallahassee, Florida. He is who he is in Florida State campus. The same convenience store wherever he went to get those crab legs. I bet that he has his people in there and, he signs their merchandise or whatever, took pictures with their family, their daughters, and they said, here, Jameis, you take these crab legs. You take these crab legs. And that had probably been going on for a while. Different things probably go on like that in this man's life and in a lot of people's lives. But it seems like the older media doesn't seem to take that into account. And that's why sometimes I feel like, you know, have you been young? Have you ever been young? You have. But you haven't been young in this generation. So what gives you the right to dictate and talk about what somebody's doing in this generation when you're not from it? And I know you're probably saying, Addison, you're doing the same thing. But I'm talking about the past. I'm talking about the past and facts. Things that people reiterate themselves. I'm not pulling anything out of a magic hat. Oh man. He went into that place. The person that usually gives him the crab legs wasn't in there. They took a day off. They had a sick day that day. They weren't in. They didn't come into work that day. And someone else saw him that's not on the train, that's not getting pictures and not doing this and not doing that, and they said something and he got in trouble. I'm not saying that's how it went, but you know, I, I I'm in my 20s. You know, I've been young. I've been a freshman. Whatever sophomore. I've been immature. Whatever. We all have. Let's just be objective. And real quickly, I just want to let everyone know I appreciate everyone who's tuning in. And you are currently listening to Q&A on W.C.C.U. Radio, Coastal Carolina University's student radio station. Um, it's the same thing as the Wonderlic. It's the same thing all these tests. I mean, they mean things. I take analytics into play very heavily. I think they do mean a lot. But, at the same time, it comes a time, man, where you have to infuse everything that you're talking about. You can't just put emphasis on one point. Put all the points together. If you can put all the points together and get people to understand it, that's communication. That's knowing sports and knowing what you're talking about. And everyone's not doing that. That's what we do on Q&A. Let's see. Do I really want to dive in on the Tim Tebow 1 year deal with the Eagles? I was trying to really save that, and I'll save the majority of that for Friday. For the fans of Chase McFadden, the best co-host ever created, he will be here on Friday. Shout out to Chase if you are listening, tuning in. My boy Chasey McGrady, Lord Helix, he'll be here Friday, folks. He'll be here for you. I won't dive in too much, but I will say this. Could Tebow fly as an Eagle? Yes, he could. But we also need to realize that right now on that roster there's Sam Bradford, there's Timothy Tebow. I just like calling him that. There is Mark Sanchez, and there is Matt Barkley. And I'm telling you right now, folks, I love Chip Kelly. I respect his craft. I think the turnover for his plays was like 2.5 seconds and under the turnover of plays he amounts. That's beautiful. That's great. He's a creative guru. I respect that. But this is the National Football League. I don't want to see three different quarterbacks going in during a game. I just really don't. If you could utilize it, cool. But if you have Sam Bradford throwing 30 passes and then you have Tim Tebow coming in running 2 run plays, what did you pick him up for? You know what I mean? I mean it's uh, it's really hard to dictate it. But what I'll do right now is what I always do. I go to the stats. I go to the facts. You know, and Tim Tebow's 27 years old. I'm looking at his QB ratings, and very poor, very very poor. Um, I'm not saying he didn't do good things with the Broncos. He definitely did. He definitely did. But you know, I just don't know what kind of situation that could make for. I'm not saying it's going to automatically breed controversy or anything like that, but I don't know what Chip plans to do. I don't know what Chip plans to do. Um, but I do respect his craft, and I do understand where people are coming from, but at the same time, you got to break down the stats. Sam Bradford's coming off injury. Mark Sanchez is. I mean, Mark Sanchez to me, he's just a facilitator. He's an Alex Smith. You can't put too much pressure on him, but for the people that say what they say, I guess, I'm not putting negative regards on Mark Sanchez, but let's not forget that he did get control last year, and he did throw some INTs, and he did lose games. So I don't want to hear it. Um, he's 28 years old. He's not 30 yet. Um, he could do something. I mean, I'm not opposed, but you know, 14 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 2,418 yards. I mean, you know, those aren't bad stats. 88.4 rating, but you didn't handle it in the crunch time. You didn't step up in the crunch time. I know the team was beat up too, but that's Chip's fault as well. You got to get the right people in play. You can't just throw people in there because they seem like they're gonna work. They have to work. You got to work. Um, you know, Sam Bradford. I love the guy, but I saw something the other day that was very funny from Sports Nation, and it said, and really they're right. Sam Bradford, Tim Tebow, and Mark Sanchez, they are all peaked in high school Rob Lowe. I guess for this example, they're peaked in college Rob Lowe. But, they are. I'm not going to say they're former shells of themselves. Who are they? I mean, the Jets did go to the back-to-back AFC titles, but, it's the same. I mean, I'm like I said, folks, I'm looking at it objectively. It's the same thing for my Carolina Panthers. It's the same thing for my Carolina Panthers. I've been a fan since day one. I love my team. I remember when we went 1-15, 1-14. I remember that stuff. But let's also, I also can look at it objectively and say that, yeah, we made the playoffs, but so what? Yeah, we won the NFC South the last two seasons. So what? The NFC South is bad, and when we get into the playoffs, we're losing, and it's making the whole thing look like a fluke. So I'm looking at it objectively, folks. Are you? Sam Bradford's 27 years old. I mean, I don't want to diss these guys, but I just got to see. I got to see. In 2013, he had a 90.9 rating, 1,687 yards, 14 touchdowns for the career. Sam Bradford, that is. 79.3 career rating, 11,065 yards, 59 touchdowns. I want to see, man. I just feel like, we don't need to make a big deal out of Tim Tebow and things like that. And I guess that's just a proposed question. Is it a big deal? Will it work? Is it a big deal? Will it work? I don't know. Is it a big deal? No, not really, because we shouldn't be surprised by what Chip Kelly's doing. You saw about, how he got rid of, what is his name? What is his name? I can't think of his name for the Eagles. You know who I'm talking about, the former quarterback. They traded him away. Um, the way they let go Deshaun and LaShawn and Jeremy Maclin. Chip Kelly's just trying to. He has his system and he's gonna plug people in. And I'm not mad at him for that, but we also need to. And that's what I'm saying. People aren't looking at it objectively. They're saying, "Oh, it's a system. Plug the players in." But you hear Skip Bayless and other people like Tim Tebow can work and da 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 da. You don't know. You don't know if it can work. It's a system. Yeah, the system's gonna always work because it's a system. It's man-made. It's on wax. It's on paper. Whatever. The players are gonna change. The players still got to play. They still got to get up and eat and run and walk and catch and pass. Come on, man. The NFL's football schedules are up, folks. They're up for 2015. Check them out. Whatever your team, whoever your team, check them out. Question is it good for the NFL to release the upcoming schedules? Yes, it is. Of course. Always. Not really for the teams, because I feel like you should go into every game not with when I say the same mentality, I mean with the same physicality. You know, I know that each opponent is different. I know each opponent, and I know you have to be strategic and you have to scheme differently and run different plays, but you always go into each game with the same tenacity. The same positive mindset, high morale, cohesive, collaboration. And, on that aspect, that shouldn't leave the players, but the fans, we need to see the schedules. We need to see because we need to trash talk with opposing friends. We need to trash talk with peers. We need to trash talk with rivals. We need it. We need to see it. We need to see it because so we can, anticipate, ticket sales and getting tickets and things like that. We need it. It needs to always be revealed. It could probably be revealed a little earlier. Because nobody's gonna tell me that it takes a really long time, for that. Come on, man. There's so much money and revenue and stuff involved in the National Football League and these sports. Whenever they say that there's a delay in things like that and not a turnover, and so, I don't believe that stuff. There's too much money involved. People's jobs are at stake. The CEOs and the CFOs and the owners, they're not letting that happen. Come on. I'm looking at the schedule, folks. Boy, 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 I'm looking at that schedule. First game against Jacksonville looks good. Texans, Saints, I hate. Buccaneers, I hate. Seattle, Philly, Colts, Green Bay, Tennessee, Washington. Oh man. And I wanted to talk about this. Um, and the question that's been aroused to me is it good for various teams and different teams to play on Thanksgiving? Yes. 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 I'm not saying that in terms of that I'm tired of Cowboys and Redskins because let me tell you, both teams could be 1 and 11, 1 and 1, whatever. I'm still be tuned in because that's the magnitude of playing on Thanksgiving. And for what I see, and I'm hoping this is accurate, my Carolina Panthers, we play the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Oh Lord. Ooh, AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas. It's gonna be interesting. So yeah, I'm not just saying that because it's my Panthers. It's good. I like to see some other teams play on Thanksgiving. I mean, I don't know what I know a lot of different things go into that, but it's just funny how you win a couple of NFC titles in a row and you get thrown in the Thanksgiving game. But I'm just saying, you look at it how you want to. Saints again, I hate. Falcons, hate. Giants, Falcons, Bucks. I mean, this schedule is not looking very easy. I talked to my good friend Trey Lilly, who's also a diehard Panthers fan. Shout out to Trey. And we were breaking it down last night, and we left a couple of teams out. Depending on how these teams look on the upcoming season, this could be. I mean, it's already hard. You see New England. Um, oh man, Tennessee. The Colts are reamped. Seattle's. They got Jimmy Graham. Former NFC champs. We'll see, man. But the question is it good for this to be released? Yeah, man, it's good. It doesn't need to go anywhere. It's really good. It's great. I'm going to dive in on a little NBA real quick, folks. It's been a great show today. Hope you're enjoying it. Hope you're enjoying your day. Hope you're being blessed because I am. Whew. Celtics got a taste of vintage LeBron last night. Cavaliers. I expected this from them, but I love what Boston's doing. I absolutely love it because it's playoff basketball. Man, I absolutely love it. Jericho, some of these other players, Isaiah Thomas, Carroll, Marcus Smart, man. Marcus Smart is a really good NBA player out of Oklahoma State. I didn't know how he was going to pan out because I wasn't quite sure what position he was really going to hone. Shooting guard, point guard. He's running the point, and he's running it well, man. He's physical. He's a big body. Kid can play. Kid can ball. It's good for the Celtics to be as physical as they are with Cleveland. Cleveland needs to be physical. The East is not. The one thing I can say about the East, man, is it's not good like the West, but it's physical. I'm not going to say like the West, but it is physical. It's physical play. Brad Stevens is doing a phenomenal job with the Boston Celtics. Um, I know my cousin Sandy and her beautiful family. Shout out to them. They live in Hartford, Connecticut, and they are diehard Celtics fans. I know they're happy to see where Brad Stevens has got them, making the playoffs. Off of last season. So very, 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 very proud of Brad Stevens. I think he's a really great coach, and he's a perfect example of taking it slow. Not even necessarily taking it slow, but sticking to your craft, letting the course take place. Sometimes you can't rush it, and a lot of people are used to rushing it. But you know, big game from Kevin Love last night. That's what I needed to see. Um, that's what I want to see from Kevin Love. And the thing about Kevin Love, and the thing that people, everybody's just taking him out of play because I guess just and I understand why they are. LeBron is who he is. Kyrie's great, but man, I know people that will kill to average a double double in the NBA. Excuse me, they'll kill for it. So sometimes I feel like Kevin Love is too hard on himself. I know LeBron James, he's the best player in the world, so it's his job to be hard on him. He tries to exemplify what he's seen in the past, and that's what I keep trying to reiterate, folks. It's all about the generational gaps. LeBron, not saying he wasn't always like that, but I'm not saying he was subservient to Dwayne Wade. I'm not saying that, but he's in charge. He's been there. So he can facilitate and dictate. He's the best player in the world, offensively and defensively. Overall, he is. 30 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists last night for LeBron. Moved him into, I think, 7th place on the all-time playoff scoring list. Some big names on there, folks. Tim Duncan, Shaq, Mike, Abdul-Jabbar. Some big names on there. You got to consider this man as one of the greats of all time. You just do. I won't go in on that. We'll save that. Kyrie Irving's doing what he does. I love Kyrie Irving's game. Um, you know, I just do. I do. LeBron came back. They went 17-3. Next 20 starts. James averaged 27.2, 6.4 rebounds, and 6.8 assists over the stretch. It's carrying, man. He's not settling for that jump shot. He's going to the rim as he should. As he should. So that's really it for I'm not saying that's it for that, but it's a good game, man. This is a good series. I'm liking what I'm seeing because the Celtics are coming at Cleveland. They're not just settling down and laying down, ready to get it, ready to get the whooping. They're fighting, they're battling, and that's what playoff basketball is all about. It's about physicality. The referees do need to do a better job, and on that aspect, I can say that I love the prior game. I love the old game. I love this game. It's new. It's for my generation. It's accumulated with everything that my generation has provided: technology, social media, things like that, money, power. But you know, I love watching highlights from the '90s, man, and the '80s and the '70s. I love it, man. I love it. The hand checking. I love it. I love it all. The physical nature. And that's why I hate when people say you just can't. It's all about generational differences. You can't you throw Michael Jordan in the game today, Michael's gonna get pissed because every time he does something, he's gonna get a foul call. Come on, man. I want to hear it. Man. Houston Rockets, man, and the Dallas Mavericks, man. Houston looks good. Houston looks good, man. They look good right now. I'm telling you, man, they're really starting to hone us. They're really starting to bring it together. And they're scary. It's not so much against Dallas. I mean, Nowinski, man, he's one of the greatest of all time. I mean, I could easily say he's the greatest big man shooter ever, greatest foreign player ever. I mean, you can really say those things for Dirk Nowitzki. You put him into play. We can discuss him. I'm not just outright saying that that's the status quo. But he's up there, man. But wow, man. I'm just seeing good things from Houston. I'm seeing big things from Houston, man. I mean, they're getting scoring all across the board. Um, you know, Rajon Rondo isn't exactly playing the best right now either. But at the same time, man, Houston's just punching him in the mouth. At one point, I saw that, James Harden was 11-11 from the free throw line. You can't allow him to do that, man. You might as well give it to him. Dwight Howard, 26 points. Give him the win. Give it to him. Josh Smith, excited, rowdy, getting the crowd involved. Give it to him. That's what they're there for. That's what they're there for. And I'm loving the distribution with the ball. I love what James Harden is doing. James Harden, he's just the best scorer. I mean, he is what Kevin Durant was doing on last season. You get what I'm saying? His numbers, man, are phenomenal. I mean, he shot, I think 100 and I know 100. The numbers are probably fluctuated now because of the game last night, but he was 100 more free throw attempts than the next man. 100 more, folks, than the next man. Respect it. Respect this craft. We've talked about the MVP race. I'm not going to go there again. But, man, James Harden can ball, man. And I see them doing something, and I see it. I see Houston doing something in the West, man. Just like how the Clippers are doing. Better stop sleeping on them boys. Better stop sleeping on them boys, I'm telling you. 111.99 was the final score. Dwight Howard, 28 points. Let's look at the box score. I'll give you folks some statistics off the top of my head. Dirk Nowitzki only had 10 points. It's not gonna win you. It's not gonna win you games. It's not gonna win you games. It's just not. You had 28 from Dwight. You had 8 from Jason Terry. You had 24 from James Harden. You had 15 from Josh Smith. You had 7 from Pablo Prigioni. I mean, Clint Capella even added 5 points. Ooh, Terrence Jones 5 points. Trevor Ariza. I mean, this team is good. Terrence Jones, Trevor, Dwight, Jason, Josh. They're a good team, man. They're lacking, Beverly, but they're a good team. They're a really good team. They're definitely making noise. Definitely making noise. And it's tough, man, because it almost makes me want to change some of my picks. But right now, I just go 3 best in both. In the East, man, Cavs, Bulls, Wizards. And everybody laughed and joked at me when I said what I said about the Wizards, but the Wizards can play, man. Wizards can play. You got some good people over there, man. They have a good team. Paul Pierce. Bradley Beal's finally coming to his own. John Wall, he's reinnovating his game every night. He's getting better every night. Gortat, you know what Nene can do. Gotta respect them boys. Monte Ellis had 24 for Dallas. He's not gonna get it done. He's not gonna get it done. We only got a few minutes left, but Spurs and Clippers. We'll see what happens. But it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. At 2:10 today, Cleveland Indians versus Chicago White Sox. 7 o'clock, St. Louis Cardinals, Washington Nationals. 7:07, Baltimore Orioles versus the Tampa Bay Rays. 7:10, you have my Atlanta Braves versus the New York Mets. 7:10, Boston versus Tampa Bay. Oh, snap. Excuse me. Toronto Blue Jays. Whoa. I don't follow Toronto baseball. You got Oakland versus LA. The Angels tonight at 10:05 as well. 10:15, the Dodgers playing San Francisco. It's gonna be a good game. San Francisco's 5-10, but their record doesn't show they're a good team. Dodgers are 9-4. They look pretty good. Oh, I'm gonna give you some hockey recap too, folks. I'm telling you, had some good. I actually watched some good hockey last night. Watched Calgary get that win. You know, It's getting tough right now. That was a 3 seed getting that, you know. Um, Blackhawks are doing what they do best. Seabrook's 3 overtime goals give Blackhawks 3-1 lead over. Um, yeah, excuse me. Um, and just can't stop what they're doing. Them and the Rangers right now they look good. But we'll see. We'll see. Just a couple minutes left, folks. I hope everyone enjoyed the show today. We touched on a lot of topics, went over a lot of things. I hope everyone took everything in. I really enjoyed the show, and I love doing the show. And really, my overall goal. I know I was kind of ranting earlier when I was saying to wipe out, the people and things like that. But it's very interesting to me that I go to school and I'm God willing, graduating on May 9th at 8:30, and you know, everyone's talking in the classes and, just my peers. Everyone's talking about jobs. And right now I'm just talking about sports and media. That's all I'm talking about. I can talk about other things, but I just don't we don't have enough time. But, everyone's talking about jobs and how 100 people are competing for the same job, but you know who's still getting that job? The Mark Jacksons and the Stan Van Gundys and these former older coaches and players. I'm not saying they don't know the game, but the game is different. I'm tired of hearing about that. I'm tired of hearing them say the same things. They're all saying the same things. You need to get somebody from the upcoming future leaders, and that's myself. That's myself. I'm not big upping myself, but I feel like I know what I'm talking about and I know my craft and I perfect it every day. And I'm sick of watching, I love Charles Barkley and I love Shaq and EJ and Kenny. I love TNT. I love their coverage. But I'm tired of it though. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I just am. I'm tired of Scott Van Pelt. I'm tired of the same guys talking about the same things in the same way. There's no differences. Their personalities might be different, but not really. They've been on it so long they've become the same. I'm just tired of hearing it. I'm tired of listening to gameplay coverage during the basketball games in the playoffs. I'm listening to Mark Jackson and listening to Stan Van Gundy. And the thing is that they're saying that 100 people of my peers are competing, and we might, but none of us are getting the job. None of us are getting the job, and I'm tired of that, and I will be the one to break that mold with this show. This show's the start. But I love it. I love what I do. I love talking to people. I love communicating. I love getting insight from them. Um, I definitely, we need to do this. We've done it before on the show, but we definitely need to put some more time into it. Chase was talking to me about it, and I'm hoping we can get to it on Friday. Give at least a good 10, 15 minutes to open up the phone lines, get your calls in. Because a lot of people are, the topics and the questions that I propose on this show are questions that you all give me, but we want to hear you. I want to hear you. People want to hear you. They want to hear the word of mouth. So we'll be, providing that for you, coming up. I promise you that, and I apologize for not having it as such. But I just want to say, everyone, I appreciate you for tuning in. However, whyever, whenever. I hope you enjoy your day, and I hope you, continue to be blessed and be in good spirits and be healthy physically and mentally. Enjoy the rest of your day. This is Addison Taylor off Q&A, signing out.